Welcome to the Prison Professors Podcast. We serve people who face challenges with prosecution, sentencing, and prison. My co-founders are Sean Hopwood and Justin Paperny. My name is Michael Santos. We create digital content and our team offers individual consulting services. We also assist agencies that want to improve outcomes. To learn how we can help you, text the word PrisonPro to 44222. Again, text PrisonPro to 44222 and get our free brochure. You can also visit us at prisonprofessors.com or contact Justin at 818-424-2220. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Send confirmation that you reviewed our podcast and we'll send you a free digital book. Stay tuned for a 20 to 30-minute episode of Prison Professors.
I'm really excited whenever I can profile a mastermind, because what do we learn from a mastermind? We learn that regardless of what bad decisions we've made in the past, we can pick ourselves up, we can become strong, we can become successful. And today I have the privilege of introducing you to my friend, a mastermind, Rodney White. And I call Rodney White a mastermind because he has gone through struggle, but he managed to pick himself up and become a community leader. Rodney, welcome to the Earning Freedom Podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Hey, Michael, good to see you and good to be on your show, and to all the hundreds of thousands of people on the internet and everywhere else that will be looking at this. I'm just basically a kid from Richmond, Virginia. I'm off the East Coast. I went to prison in 1991. I got out in 2007. I served actually 15 and a half years in federal prison.
15 and a half years in federal prison. And what kind of decisions did you make as a young man that required you to serve 15 and a half years in federal prison?
Well, I made some poor decisions, Michael. I feel like that I was dealt a bad hand, and I played it bad as well. But I make no excuses for my life and the choices that I made. They were my choices, but they were not great choices. They were not good choices at all, but I made them, and I had to pay the consequences for making those bad choices.
Tell us about, you said that you were dealt a bad hand. I want you to know, well, you obviously do know that a lot of the people who are listening to our podcast, they're locked in prisons right now. They too were dealt a bad hand. And a lot of them had to make decisions, that were based on their environments and what they learned. They didn't have role models like you, people who've gone through struggle and come back strong. That's why I'm so passionate about bringing guys like you into the penitentiary so they could hear what you've learned. So tell us a little bit about that bad hand you were dealt, because I think that many people will identify with it.
Well, I'll say this. After gaining an education and being able to research issues and topics that affected me, what I discovered was that if one parent had gone to prison, there was a 50% chance that the child would go to prison. Well, guess what, Michael? Both of my parents went to prison. It was a locked bet. I was destined to go to prison, but no one in the education system ever identified that. They didn't look at those things when I was missing a lot of time from school, when I wasn't going to school, those things that kind of led me off into that life. No one identified it. I saw drug use for the first time in my home, probably when I was about 5 years old, when my mother's pimp boyfriend was shooting dope in the bathroom. And I can remember it as vividly as if it was yesterday, to walk in the bathroom and to see him with a necktie tied around his arm, getting a shot, and me running into my mother's bedroom saying that Jeannie's sick, he's sick. And my mother saying, what's wrong? And she going in there and seeing him, because what I thought when I saw a needle, I thought about somebody being sick and going to the hospital in my young mind. Not really putting the connection together until later on in life that I basically caught Jeannie shooting up. So at an early age, I was desensitized to drug use, to violence, to that kind of thing. So because of that, I think that going into that lifestyle, it really wasn't a negative choice for me. It was a continuation of what I had viewed and saw as a child.
And that's the case with so many of the people who fill our nation's prison system. They're part of an intergenerational cycle of recidivism where their parents were locked up. They grew up with bad influences. And that's why it's so important for us to bring positive role models like you back into the prison so that they can see, regardless of where they are, regardless of where they come from, they can make something more of their life. Now, you walked into the federal prison system. Tell us about the prisons where you served time. What security level were there? What was your initial adjustment like?
Well, my initial adjustment was I went into a medium level prison. I went into FCI Petersburg. And from there, I was shipped to another medium level, which was FCI Ashland. And it's so funny because, they shipped me out of Petersburg because they said I had a sphere of influence. Because going into the prison system, I still had money, still had connections. The prison was only 20 minutes away from where I lived. So it wasn't hard to make things happen, as they say. But when I went to Manchester, Ashland, Kentucky, there was a great racial divide there, and because of that, I didn't last in that compound very long. After that, I think I got into a fight and I hit a guy in the head with a lock. And the next thing I know, not even a good year and a half, 2 years in the prison, I was in Terre Haute, Indiana, which at that time, it was the USP, it was the old Terre Haute, not the new one, not this new fancy one. It's where the D block was, where the death row was, and basically a young gladiator school. So that's where I basically got as they would say, my boots was laced up in how to bid in due time was in that gladiator school. Where, as I say, when you walk up in the M block, you come through that R&D, it smells like baby oil and butthole and wine, and it has that stench. If you've ever been in prison, and you have been, Michael, there's a stench about some of those older joints that you just can't get out of your nostrils. And when you smell it, you're in there where men are doing hard time.
Yes, yeah, that is absolutely true. But even where people are serving hard time, there are leaders like you who managed to turn their life around. I know when I was locked in there back in, started in the penitentiary when I was pretty young, I can tell you that I had one mindset, and that was come back to society strong, successfully, and every decision I made was going to lead me in that direction. But that's really not normal in that environment. Many people in that environment are just trying to tune out the outside world and focus on serving time. I found that to be bad guidance. Tell us your thoughts, Rodney.
Well, it's awful guidance, but you've got to understand that an incarcerated sentence is not designed for you to be successful. Again, in doing research, I read something about one of the previous BOP. He was the head of the BOP. I forgot his name. I can't think of his name right now. But basically, when he was at a Senate hearing, he said that if a person comes into my prison and stays 10 years, he will be institutionalized. So I say that to say that you and I are outliers in research as to not being the norm. But here's the thing. For 13 years, I did it wrong. It wasn't until those last 2 years, and I was going to teen, and I was asked, because I was getting ready to go into that last 18 months, where you start doing re-entry and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going into it. And for 13 years, I ran the ticket. I played at the poker table. I did whatever I could do, the hustle and grind penitentiary style. So, yeah, I did that. But in year 13.
But you paid a price for that, too. You got shipped from far away from your family. You had racial problems. You served time in the SHU. You were involved with violence, and you exposed yourself to the possibility of serving a sentence that was longer than you had to serve.
I did serve a sentence longer than I had to serve. I actually lost 27 days 4 times, and it came back to haunt me because I got a daughter that's serving 18 to 25 years in the state of North Carolina for a drug murder that had happened 2 weeks before I got out of prison.
So you're talking about your parents were in prison, you went to prison, now your daughter's in prison. And that's Absolutely. The cycle of failure that we're trying to change, Rodney. We're trying to change that by giving inspiring message, showing people how they can change. What were the important messages that you learned during those latter 2 years, and what precipitated you getting that message to want to change your life?
Well, let me tell you, it was me, again, thinking in my very most conniving way of saying, okay, there was a faith-based program that was at the prison that was closest to my home, and it was the LCP program, and it was in Petersburg. So I did everything I could do to angle to get in that program.
You said the LSCP. Tell us what that means.
LCP, Life Connections Program. It's still going on. It's a faith-based program that you actually go in and you study your religious principles and things, and it's all different faiths. But it's, for me, a lot of guys call it the faith-based program because they say, oh, you just in there faking. And truly I was when I went in there. But what happened, Michael, was during that time, I was actually able to study, read, but most importantly, here's where it came in at. I took 100% responsibility for my life. I started making decisions like you did, filtering everything based upon I put myself in this, I will be getting myself out of this. So that's one of the first things I learned was to take 100% responsibility for my life. Every decision I made was based on that factor.
You know something, Rodney? I got to say, you are really doing a great service right now because there are so many people in prison that they don't need to hear that message from, I got to say, first of all, let me give, gratitude. Great. I want to express my appreciation for programs like faith-based programs that get people thinking. But at the end of the day, there are so many people that need to get their message from masterminds like you. People who've actually done it, not people who talk about it, people who have done it. You did it. You woke up. You saw it. Our job, Rodney, is to try and connect with those people much earlier in the sentence, right? When they're first starting.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you just talked about is what resonated with me in year 13. And this is probably why right now, I work at a community college. I go into prisons, I go into schools, I have a DVD out, and I promote this. This is my passion. And a lot of people, and again, why I agreed to come on to your show, and I turned down a lot of speaking events is because of this, Michael, this very reason here. A lot of people are talking about what they did and how successful they were when they got out of prison, but very few are actually going back into the prisons and helping people. They want to sell a book. They want to do a movie, and I'm not knocking anybody's hustle. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But what I am saying I want to focus on is men like you and I who are saying, hey, the door's open. Let me open a little wider and let me show you exactly how I did it and not just tell you some kind of funny or sad story. So the second part of it was I put a program together called Read to Succeed, and READ is an acronym. So R was taking responsibility for myself. And again, this was not to sell to anybody. This is just what I came up with. The E was education and environment, Michael, in the sense that education, I had to learn more in order to earn more. So I started taking every class that I could take that they offered in the prison system in those last 2 years, from parenting to math classes, whatever they offered, computer classes. Because remember, Michael, think about this. When you and I went to prison, there was no internet, Michael. There was no internet. Internet didn't come out till 1992. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have internet. So getting out of prison in 2007, I was oblivious to this, but I had to learn these things prior to by taking computer classes in FCI Memphis. The first time I got on what the guys used to call a pewter. They didn't even know, they didn't say the word, not computer. They say pewter. I got to get on that pewter. And so in doing that, Michael, the other part, the E, is environment. The people that I had to be around in prison. Because here's the thing. This is what I thought about. And guys in jail are listening to me right now. Understand this. If you hanging around a bunch of guys that's hustling and stealing out the kitchen, you a thief. There's no, listen. And again, I'm not trying to knock you out. I done stole out the kitchen and did that. But what you're telling yourself is this. When things get tough, when things get tight, you're going to resort to stealing. You have not broken that behavior. Now, again, I'm not trying to say that it's a right or wrong issue, but when you get to a certain point in your bit, you got to say, if I can't walk a straight line in here, I know I can't walk a straight line out there. So give that to you as a test. So that's the environment, because under environment, I'm not talking about where you sell at or what dorm you're in. Your environment is the 5 people that you are around the most, because they're influencing. If you're around 5 booty bandits, if you're around 5 gunslingers, and y'all know what a gunslinger is, you're around these kind of, that's what you are. But if you're around 5 guys that are working out, lifting weights, and going to the law library, and doing those type of things, then that's what your life is, because they are influencing you. Now, the other part, Michael, is this: the A, attitude, adjusting, and asking. Attitude, the smallest thing that makes the biggest difference. Michael, you and I met we've met some people in jail that you were like, man, I would never introduce you to anybody. But we've met some people be like, hey, man, this person has a great attitude. They could sell, they could do anything. That's what your success is going to be based on, your attitude. You're asking for help. And that was the biggest thing that I had to look at when I got out of prison and being in prison was this: asking the right people for help.
Mm-hmm.
And this other part, Michael, is the part that struggled with, that I talked about in the DVD is adjusting. Here's what I want to say to you. I had to adjust to laying in bed next to my wife, because for 15 and a half years, I slept in a bed by myself. And if somebody had to come up and touch me in the middle of the night, you know what that would have been in there, Michael. You know what the environment, what all that calls for. So you're not going to change that mindset overnight because you get out of jail on the 3rd of the month and the 5th of the month you sitting there laying next to your wife. You're not used to that. You got to adjust to it. But what you got to understand, it's only temporary. And I think a lot of times when men get out of prison and women get out of prison, they think, okay, stuff is supposed to happen like right away that day, and it doesn't. So therefore they feel defeated, and then they go back to doing something they feel comfortable with. And that's when they got you. So you've got to keep in mind that this is temporary. Whatever struggle I faced coming out here, it was temporary. It was not the job. The first job as a janitor, that was temporary. It was temporary. And that's what you got to understand. Bless you.
Thank you. Rodney, you said read, education, adjustment, and attitude. What is the D for, Rodney? Determination
and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be so determined. It's the same way. Just like when you're in prison and you're determined every day you're going to get up and walk 5 miles. Every day you're going to get up and lift weights. So every day you're going to watch CNN News for 4 hours. That's the same discipline you got to take in order to make things happen for you while you're out here. You've got to write goals, set goals. And this is what I tell guys. You set goals right there and don't even know it. That poster or that shake booty girl that you got on your wall for 15 years you've been looking at, guess what? She don't look that way no more. But you still got a goal in your mind that you want that. And when you get out here and you see her after 15 years, you're going to be like, what happened to you? Because for 15 years, you've been looking at those pictures of her that y'all took in your 20s and now you're in your 40s. And guess what? You've been working out. You've been looking real good. And you thinking but she's not. But she's not. But your mindset and determination is to that. So what you got to put on that wall are some very achievable goals. Some things like, I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to get a job. And then you tell yourself that every day. And guess what? You will do the things that you need to do to make that happen. And that's what you did, Michael. You did that. You know, it wasn't until year 13 for me. But the good thing about it is I still had time to turn it around.
And you did turn it around, Rodney. Not only did you turn it around while you were in prison for those last 2 years, but you've been out for several years right now. And you didn't know, as you said, you didn't stay as a janitor. You built yourself up to be a community leader. I'd like you to tell our audience a little bit about your career and how you went about building this really extraordinarily successful career.
Well, first of all, I am an adult career coach at a community college.
But how did you get there? You came out, you said you were a janitor. Walk us through what you did. How did you get your education and advance your life?
I apologize, Michael. It's just that I'm not used to talking about it, and I guess that's what holds me back sometimes.
But I want you to think back to when you were back at USP Terre Haute, because that's who we're speaking to. We're speaking to guys in the challenge program in penitentiaries across the United States, and they need to be taking action just like you took action, hopefully not in year 13, but in year 1. So tell us a little bit about what you did, brother.
I'll tell you what I did. Everything that I could get my hands on to read, I read. And that's why I named my program Read, because I didn't know about sales. So my first job was that of a janitor. Why? Because I had cleaned dorms and been an orderly in the unit, so I could clean. My second job was for DirecTV. And it was only because of somebody I knew who had been incarcerated, connected me with a job, showed me how to run wire, and I got that job. But my third job was where I turned the corner at, Michael. And that was when I started selling cars, because I knew that if I could sell dope in the city of Richmond for 6 years straight and not get stopped by the police, lose a drug load, anything, I knew I was a great salesman. I just had the wrong product. So I learned that I could transfer those skills. Now, here's the thing. What helped me in prison was that I was constantly reading books by Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins. I was reading by master sellers, getting the techniques, getting the language, getting the verbiage. I would sit in my room because, again, you pick up that jail slang. I would sit in my room when my cellie would go out in the morning. I would sit in that room for 15 to 20 minutes and read out loud and listen to myself so that I could be articulate, so I could go in and talk and have confidence in what I was saying and not use the jail verbiage. So that's what I worked on. I worked on polishing the things that I could work on. So once I hit the ground, I was ready to go. I had already knew how to sell. I had already knew the connections. I had already studied what I wanted to do. So I hit the ground running. But I didn't have the tools to do direct TV. So I had to work and save money to get the tools. I didn't have the wardrobe. I didn't have the clothes to even do what I needed to do to sell cars. So I worked and built on that. When I started in the drug business, I tell anybody this, I started with an 8-ball. Yeah, I started with an 8-ball. And when I finished, I was moving 5.5 keys a week. Yeah, I know there's somebody that listens say that was nothing. They sneezed it. I get that. But I don't have a problem starting from the bottom and making it to the top. Drake wasn't the first one that said that, Mike.
One of the things Zig Ziglar said, he said, if you can help enough people get what they want, you can get everything that you want.
Absolutely.
And you're helping people right now understand how to become successful so that they don't have to revert to the type of behavior that can keep them mired in this cycle of failure where they're going to prison and their kids are going to prison and they're living always struggling. You are not struggling right now. You are a leader teaching people how to become successful. And I'm so grateful to you for sharing your story. What I'd like to ask you now where I'd like you to elaborate on rather, is how the seeds that you started to sow while you were in prison, how they positioned you for challenges in the beginning and then for success later. Show us how behavior in prison influences prospects for success or prospects for struggle.
Well, let me say this. As a motivating factor in my life, I can say this. Nothing that I have faced since prison was as hard as it was for me to just being in prison. Meaning that I felt like if I could sit in that shoe for 6 months at a time, and I've done that, I've been on lockdown, if I could be as determined and strong-minded about making it in jail and standing strong, I could take that same mindset and come out here and be dedicated to whatever I set my mind to. Now, here's the thing that prison gave me that I didn't even know I had. When I first went back to school, when I went to college, I went to the University of Richmond, a private white school. Now, I'm going to tell you why I went there, because that's the school that my prosecutor graduated from. And I said, if he can do it, I know damn well I can. So that was a motivating factor. But what I realized was by me being in prison and sitting and reading books the way I did, I could read books, I could read case law, because my major is I'm double-minded. I got a liberal arts degree, paralegal studies, and leadership. And I felt like, hey, I learned those things and understood those things being in prison.
How old were you when you went back to the university?
I was 42 years old.
42 years old. Never too soon, never too late to begin turning a corner. So you went there when you were 42 years old. And what was your education level before you went to the university?
High school, and I was a straight F student. And I got a report card to prove it. I could pull out my high school report card. I could pull it out right now and show it to you. Right here, I got it. This is my high school report card right there, Michael. Straight Fs. I BS you not. That was my high school report card. That was it.
For those who are listening to the podcast, I encourage you to visit michaelsantos.com so you can see the video where he showed us a report card with straight Fs, and now he's showing us something else. What are you showing us now?
I graduated with my University of Richmond degree, and I graduated magna cum laude, which means with high honors. Now, also, I have a degree from, let me see if I can pull it out and everything, but let me pull this out. That's my compensation sheet, because I know a lot of y'all are saying, Michael, where are you getting these guys from? They're just paid actors. There's my number, 3269508. My case is in the law books. If you look in F sub in Western District of Tennessee, I filed a 924C case. It's in the law book. So again, nothing I'm saying. I'm not a paid actor. I'm not somebody that Michael just kind of dug up because he's in Hollywood and go get guys actors. I am the real deal in what I did.
Let me just say, anybody coming on Earning Freedom, they are the real deal, and then we got you on as the real deal, my man.
Absolutely. But, Michael, let me show them something else, Michael. I think they need to see this, too. This right here is a federal wiretap that I had placed on my phone a year after I was out of prison. Why? Because I was talking to some friends of mine who had got back into hustling. Now, if I'd have been hustling, I'd probably be right in there with them. But I was in there talking about going to school and everything. But why did I show you that? Because a lot of times, men and women will come out of prison and think they can hit a quick little lick and get back on and turn around real quick. But guess what? It just doesn't happen that way. And so I keep that wiretap right there as a reminder to show me of how close I came to going back and didn't even know it.
Will you show that wiretap one more time?
That's it right there. It was a wiretap.
That is really, really important. You just gave us some incredible information because there's so many guys in prison that think.
It was two of them. There you go, under seal. It'll say right there, under seal. They can see it, Michael. It says under seal. It shows the numbers and everything. Again, but I keep this. I had it laminated because I need to see this and understand just how close I came to going back to prison. Not because I was breaking law, but just my affiliation with some friends of mine who had been in prison.
That's what's so important. There's so many guys in prison who think that they can get out and still hang around the same old crowd and think they're going to be okay. But the reality is when we got high recidivism rates, people coming in, if you associate yourself with guys who are doing wrong, you got to expect that some of that wrong is going to rub off on you and you're going to get sucked back in.
Absolutely, Michael. And again, I learned from that. And again, they're still my friends. I got the email.
They're your friends, but they're standing up for count again, and you're out there dialing for dollars.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. So from getting my degrees, Michael, I started working at a community college. Now, here's the key. I go into halfway houses. I go into prison. Wait a minute,
you said degrees. You showed us a bachelor's. What else happened after that?
Oh, I tell you, I've got something else around here somewhere, Michael. I've got a bachelor's degree, and hold on, I got it somewhere.
Just tell us about it.
I got a master's degree. I don't know exactly where. It might be on the video. I don't have the picture of it right now. It's on the wall at my office.
That's okay. You got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and you didn't even step foot on a university campus until you were 42 years old.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Michael. Absolutely. And I tell you, one of the things I want to say to you is this. I don't say that I'm the smartest person because I have 2 degrees. I say that I'm disciplined and I'm determined, because when a lot of students are going out, partying, having a good time, I'm not doing it. I'm sitting there getting my work done. As Pimp and Ken would say, and some of my pimp boys might know, is purse first and ass last. That's what I'm talking about. Take care of your business first. And that's what you do. And those are the mindsets that you have, And again, Michael, the game ain't dead. I got scared. That's the whole thing. The game is still alive.
And you're not ashamed to say it.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I got scared. I could not hustle again. And I'm gonna be really honest with you again. And I don't share this with everybody, but I'll share this here. I did take an attempt to try to sell dope again. A friend of mine from one town came to my town and said, "Hey, you know somebody?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, I know a guy." And he gave me a little bitty bag like this to take as a tester. And I had that direct TV truck. I can say it now because the statute of limitations are gone. So I can say it happened over 7 years ago, but it happened within the first 2 years when I went home. This is what happened. I took that little bag of dope and I hid it inside a box. You'd have thought I was hiding stamps in a Tide box or something, Michael. I hid the dope, glued it back. You'd have thought, man, it was gonna come out of everywhere. And I took the dope to another part of town. But before I got to that part of town where I was taking the dope, Michael, I had to stop and use the bathroom 3 times, Michael. 3 times. And I don't mean to pee. I'm telling you, I was sick on my stomach. I had diarrhea. And when I got to my friend's house, I had to use the bathroom again. That told me right there, say, you don't have the stomach for this no more, boy.
Not only that, but I got to say something. You are right now, at that time, you were just coming up, but the more the stronger you became, as you got your education, as you had more opportunities, now there's no way anybody could give you anything suck you back into that world. You're too vested in wanting to be successful and to prove worthy of all the opportunities that people have believed in you. Your wife's believed in you. Your family's so proud of you right now. Your university's proud of you. I'm proud of you, and I'm so grateful that you're able to show us what success really is, because other people need to be inspired by you.
But let me tell you the rest of that story, Mike. I didn't even sell the dope. I gave it to him. He said, hey, I didn't even want the money. That's just how scared I was of that. I didn't even want the money, Michael. But the true lesson in all of this is the true lesson of what I have understood about this journey. The more that I have worked to help people, the better things have gotten for me, Michael.
They sure have. And you now have a side business. I learned about Rodney because of his phenomenal read program. That's read everything you can. That's educate yourself. That's have the right attitude and adjust correctly and have the discipline and the determination to succeed. That's why Rodney's a mastermind. He cracked the code. He figured out not how to just get by moderately. He is successful. And Rodney, I'd really like it if you could show up a copy of your product right now that you're selling and tell us a little bit about that story, how you built that and what you got for it.
This is actually right here. This right here, Michael, is a DVD that I was giving away. I was literally giving it away. A company called FMS Productions heard about it and said, hey, we want to sell this. And I said, no way, I'm giving this thing away. They said, hold on, we got something for you. Let me show you what they had for me, Michael.
Show us what they had for you, Rodney. There's no happy talk on Earning Freedom. We bring it for real.
They had a $10,000 check for me and said, let us sell it. This is a real check. I laminated the check after I made a copy of it and laminated it because I wanted you to see it was the Rodney White LLC, but they sent me a check, Michael, for $10,000. I have a 10-year residual deal with them. Every 3 months, a check is in the mail. My wife calls it passive income, meaning it doesn't even matter. Whatever I do, when I go to that mailbox every 3 months, there's going to be a check. I never had to lift a hand or finger to make that money again. Now, it's not a whole lot of money, so don't come snatch my mailbox up or anything. But what I'm saying is being able to take your story and making it work for you. So what I also did, Michael, is I put a facilitator's version together that I give away now and send out so that men and women can learn this, can understand what I'm saying again, because I understand and believe this, that when we get out here and we've lived through that, and all the men that's been in prison that helped me, I didn't get here by myself. I had good brothers that take time and show me things in the law library. I had good brothers that take time and show me how to bid, how to do a bid, how to stand up for yourself, how to be strong. Because again, I was a first-time nonviolent drug offender at that time.
That didn't stop you from going to high security United States Penitentiary.
No, it sure didn't stop me, Michael. And here's the thing about it, man, all the brothers was there, and that was the thing, and so when you would see a young brother there, that'd be a first time offender, man. And it just was, it was amazing. Now on my shirt, Michael, I wore a particular shirt for a reason. I don't know if they can see it. It's called Roots. It's Reinvent Ourselves Outside of the System. This is a program that I work with, that I went into the Richmond City Jail, and I would go in and do workshops. And what they would do is they would ask me, they would say, hey, what can we do? Things happen. These men came out of prison, and 2 women came out of prison and started their own reentry program that they're being funded. And a part of that, I've mentored them and everything. But what I want to say to the men and women listening, sometimes you got to go out and create that opportunity. You're in a cage. You were a lion once. You are still a lion. When you get out that cage, you got to roar. Don't let them tell you what you can't do. But put that plan together. Put it on paper. If you don't have it on paper, go write it down right now. As my Morris friend would say, if you're not ready, get ready. If you are ready, you got to stay ready, Michael.
That is some awesome advice. Rodney, we are coming to the end of our episode because I'm going to run out of memory on this CD, but I just want to tell you I'm so proud to have you on this show and so honored that you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend time with us. I'm going to ask you to come back again because you've got so much wisdom to provide to our brothers in prison, and I'm also going to ask you to connect us with those founders from Roots so that we can get their story on there as well. Can you do that for us?
Yes, absolutely. It's a group of them. Again, they do reentry, they do substance abuse training. They're funded by the city of Richmond. I mean, I'm going to tell you how powerful it is. The sheriff gave them an office. They got an office at the jail for ex-offenders to go in and work. And that's powerful when we can set up shop within those places and everything. And again, this is the bridge that I'm trying to connect. RodneyWhiteGroup.com. That's it. Rodney
That
White
is
Group.
it. He is not a businessman. He is a businessman. All right, Rodney White.
On behalf of my two partners, Sean Hopwood and Justin Paperny, I thank you for listening to Prison Professors. Please visit our website at prisonprofessors.com or send a text of Prison Pro to 44222 to learn how we can help you. We will be back tomorrow with another inspiring guest, and never believe that you can't overcome struggle and become something more tomorrow than you are today. Thank you.